Hello, everybody, and welcome in to the Bitcoin Made Simple podcast. I'm your host, Corey Tusick. Today, I'm going to talk to you about Jack Dorsey talking about how Bitcoin becomes irrelevant. If you haven't seen the clip, I'll play the clip for you, and then I'll give you my thoughts on if Bitcoin can become irrelevant and if his reasons for why it would become irrelevant are valid. Um, So let me get into that after I let you know that you should get a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet. Here's the orange one. Looks like this. It's sweet. It's like the size of a thumbnail, easy to use, touch screen, simple. Get your keys off the exchange, store them there. And then also shout out to Barefoot Mining. Barefoot Mining is looking for like-minded investors who have energy, like-minded investors or energy providers who want to help secure the Bitcoin network. So go to barefootmining.com and get in touch with them there, or contact me because I can get you in touch with them. So if you haven't seen it, it was on Twitter. But here's the Jack Dorsey video. I'll play it. You'll be able to hear it here. And if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it there. But here's the video in question.
So let's fast forward to the future, and Bitcoin has failed. How did it fail?
I think it fails through irrelevance. Like it fails to be relevant to people on a daily basis. If it just ends up being store value and nothing more, I don't I don't think it gains relevance at all. I think it has to be payments for it to be relevant on the everyday. Otherwise, it's just something you kind of buy and forget and only use in emergency situations or when you want to get liquid again. So I think if it doesn't transition to payments and find that everyday use case, it just gets increasingly irrelevant. And that's failure. That's failure to me.
Okay, so Jack thinks Bitcoin fails if it becomes irrelevant, and it becomes irrelevant if we don't use it as a payment system. And it got me thinking. Maybe he's right. Maybe he's not entirely right. No, nothing is ever 100% one way or the other. Um, but what was Bitcoin created for? It was to be a hard money system that, you know, I mean, if we don't, here's the thing, like now that I'm in the mining world, if we don't have fees where they were, it's going to hurt Bitcoin miners significantly. I don't know if they'll be able to survive. Um, some of them won't. And so in order to, help Bitcoin miners, there need to be transactions. And if you remember, it wasn't that long ago. Everybody was like, the mempool is backed up and there's a tons of transactions that are never going to get through. There was like a backlog of what, I don't know, a couple 100,000 transactions. And then all of a sudden now it's just open. It's cleared. Look at that. The mempool's cleared. Anything can get through. You can send a transaction through for like 40 cents, which FYI, if you send money through a bank other than, using a debit or a credit card, anytime you send money, they take more than 40 cents. I guarantee you that. So I don't think it necessarily completely fails if it doesn't have the payments element to it. Um, Lightning does not solve the minor part of the payment element. Lightning does solve, it being used for more than a store value. Um, but on a Lightning transaction, there's nobody paying fees to the miners, which it is okay. It's a free market. It'll figure itself out. But when we talk about balance and what keeps Bitcoin around for the long term, the balance really comes in with, we can't, I mean, it's not going to take long for the mempool to get blocked up again. It doesn't take that much, especially as we scale around the world. So I don't know if it necessarily means that it fails. I think that the best chance for it to not fail is if it is a mixture of payments and store of value. And I think that's kind of what Jack was getting at to a degree. But, the question that was asked to him was, how does Bitcoin fail? Um, and he's right. It does fail if it becomes irrelevant. And all of you in the Bitcoin world, you're like, well, Bitcoin will never become irrelevant. Trust me, it can become irrelevant real quick. Um, People outside of your Bitcoin circle don't care like at all. You know, People still just look at me like, oh, it's still doing that Bitcoin thing. Yep. Uh, so, and then that opened up a conversation I had, which, you should get a Bitbox O2 hardware wallet, by the way. Go to bitbox.swiss/Bitcoin made simple. Use promo code Bitcoin made simple to get 5% off. There we go. That was quick. Um, so that opened up a conversation that I had with some colleagues where we were talking about, you know, does that kill, does that really kill Bitcoin? You know, and I was like, God, that makes me feel really guilty because like I am guilty for not transacting on the base layer enough, you know. Like I've been preaching always, hodl and forget it and just let her rip and put it in cold storage, let her be and don't mess with it. And now I'm like, God, like I really should be using it to pay for stuff. Um, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I mean, you can have your cold storage that is just like your savings. Um, but I was like, I probably should be. This is what sounds weird. I should probably be more liquid in Bitcoin so that the things that I should make a list. Maybe this is what Bitcoiners should do. Go through things you pay for on a daily basis, on a monthly basis, whatever it is, and find out if those things can be paid for in Bitcoin. If they can, then I would think we should do that. I'm trying to think of things that I could pay for in Bitcoin. A lot of it, let's just say, like I just had my car worked on. So can I do that with him? Probably not, because I doubt he knows how to accept Bitcoin. That's the hardest part is finding people that will take it. Um, you know, but you could also have the conversation with people if you want. Like I used to do this. This is how I used to orange pill. I used to orange pill with waiters and waitresses. And I've been less evangelical lately, but maybe I should get back to it. So I'd orange pill with waiters and waitresses, and I would say to them, I have, I leave you a tip in Bitcoin? And they'd be like, I don't know what Bitcoin is. And I'm like, download your wallet. Like, here, go to the App Store, download this wallet, and see that promo code or not promo code, QR code. Show it to me. Boom. And I'd send them the tip that way. And then they'd be like, oh, I guess I have Bitcoin now. And I'd be like, and if you want to cash it out, you can just cash it out to your bank. That's fine. But just, and if you don't want it in Bitcoin, that's also fine. Not going to force it upon you. But, you know, if we're not using it on a more regular basis, then what are we doing? We're just stuffing everything into ETFs, stuffing everything into Wall Street, hoping that Michael Saylor buys more Bitcoin. Like, that's why I'm not on like the Saylor like bandwagon of like, oh yeah, Saylor Giga Chad keeps buying more and more. It's like that's not really what this is about. It's about it's about saving your money, watching the number go up. Because it's a deflationary and so inversely proportional to the inflation going on with the currency and watching that happen. It's about payments. It's about payments outside of the system. It's about independence and sound money. And if we're not pulling all of those ropes, think of it this way. If you had like a big tarp that you were trying to, cover the world with. If you've ever been to a baseball game or any sporting event, whenever they have a tarp on the field for rain, and then the guys go out and they take it off, and there's, like 20 guys going across the whole thing, each pulling on a strap, and then they can pull it across. Well, what happens if you're only pulling on the middle strap? The whole thing folds inward. It doesn't cover the whole field, and it just covers this little thin strip right down the middle. And that's what happens if you're only pulling on the hodl and don't spend string. The whole Bitcoin narrative, the whole Bitcoin solution folds into one line and goes straight down the middle of the world. And most of the world misses it. And it then only has one purpose: it's out of your control. And maybe Bitcoin isn't irrelevant in that case, but I think it will have lost the plot. So do some self examination on your own. Think about it. I'm thinking about it. Let's figure out a way to do this. Do that, get a BitBox O2 hardware wallet, and I will talk to you guys later.